here in town. And George Oldfield got a tape recorder in front of him, and he said,
there's a picture of that, isn't there?
Oh no, that's at Bishopgarth when he did it to the press.
Is it?
I think that was a couple of days. That was after. So he said, we've received, I'm going to play a tape in a minute. And he explained that this tape was from the same person who was the author of the letters that had been received. And he said, we cannot go into too much detail why we believe this is the person, but we are convinced that the person whose voice you are going to hear now is the murderer, the killer. So you could hear a pin drop. Everybody, everything, just silence. Click. I'm Jack. Your boys are letting you down, George. For the first time I heard this voice. And I can remember almost straining every sinew to listen to this voice, because I'm thinking, have I questioned this guy? Because thinking this accent, and everybody was the same. Listening intently. I've never experienced anything like it where everybody was, because all the people there had questioned people. And we think, have I spoken to somebody like that? And you start thinking, and at the end of it, it was made plainly clear that in the view of the senior commanders of this investigation, this was the killer. And we were told that from that point they were going to change the elimination criteria for the TIE actions. And things from that point, unfortunately, started unravelling. The rest is history. The criteria changed from what were traditional elimination procedures, such as alibis for people, and we were alibying against murder dates, purely against all the murder dates. So if I was coming round to TIE Jeff Hudson, I would have a list of dates where all the murders had happened, and we'd start with the Josephine Whittaker one, and we'd eliminate you, where were you on that date, who can verify that, and do all the traditional things you did. And if you couldn't be for that, well, where were you on this one? And you'd go down and do it methodically. Things changed from that point to where people were being eliminated on accent and handwriting. So the investigation started falling apart at the seams. Sutcliffe was missed. Opportunities were missed with him when he was questioned. It's conjecture whether he could have been arrested earlier. I personally think there were a couple of occasions where he should have been, based on what information the detectives who went to see him had in their possession. They didn't have the complete picture, but they had enough pieces of a jigsaw, in my view, to have an outcome different to what it was. But when he was caught, prosecuted, convicted, West Yorkshire Police, as we know, suffered great humiliation and a stigma that lasted for many, many years. The Ripper hoaxer fell into the background, rightly so. You know, the main person had been caught. The Ripper hoaxer was a postscript.
At which point was he known as a hoaxer?
Not until many years later.
I mean...
Oh, a hoaxer, almost immediately, because once people...
No, was he only known as a hoaxer once he was caught Sutcliffe?
No. Only once Sutcliffe was caught was he known to be a hoaxer, because up until that point, the senior investigators believed that the person who had written the tapes, turned out to be the hoaxer, was the killer, were one and the same. As soon as Sutcliffe was arrested, which was, say, a year later, where 3 women had lost their lives in between, because the inquiry was on the wrong path, and an emphasis of the investigation had gone up to Sunderland, where the hoaxer was known to be from because of his accent and because of the postmarks on the 3 letters that he'd sent, or it was believed he was from Sunderland, Castletown area of Sunderland. So that it would never be possible to say that the hoaxer was responsible for 3 women losing their lives, but it contributed, and the